Today, I'm gonna make Japanese Tantanmen. One of the best things about this is it's so easy to make. But probably, some of you might think it's hard to get the ingredients because it's Japanese food. But don't worry about it. If you follow this recipe, nothing's gonna be a problem. Alright, let's get started. For this, you will need bok choy, mung bean sprouts, green onion, garlic, and ginger. Except for these aromatics, bok choy and mung bean sprouts are totally optional. So if you don't like them, you can skip them. But if you want to make it fancier, you gotta compromise with this stuff because these will give you more authentic vibes. First, finely chop 2 cloves of garlic and a little bit of ginger. About 2 grams would be enough. What is important in this step is you should mince the ginger as fine as you can. If you're not confident with the knife skills, bring your grater. Otherwise, you have to say sorry to your family who accidentally had a piece of chunky ginger. I told you already, so if it happens, I'm not responsible. Next, chop some green onions into small pieces. Since the white part has a sharper and more intense flavor, I'm gonna use this for stir frying, but the green part will be the garnish. And then bok choy. Depending on the size, cut it in half or a quarter lengthwise. I said it's optional, but it will make your ramen look more appetizing, like the one from restaurants. Remember, green always makes your dish look fancy. Plus, it's good for your health. This time, let's make the spicy pork topping. For this, you need ground pork. You can also use other meat, but I strongly recommend pork because it will give you the best results for Tantanmen. To make the sauce, put a half teaspoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of Chinese chili bean paste, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon of sake or mirin, and give it a good mix. If you don't have mirin or sake, you can replace it with soju or Shaoxing wine, but not white wine. If it's impossible to get one of these, then just skip it. No problem at all. It just makes a slight difference in taste, so just try it. It's gonna be still delicious without it. Put 1 tablespoon of chili oil in a wok and place it over medium heat. If you can't handle spicy food, then you can just go for the cooking oil. That should be alright. Once the wok is heated, add 200 grams of ground pork, not ice cream. In this step, don't forget to break it down, otherwise it will become a whole chunk of meat. Then there's no point of using ground pork. Once it's cooked on the outside, add the chopped green onions, garlic, and ginger and stir fry everything for about 1 minute. Now it's time to play with fire. Take a deep breath and change the heat to high heat and pour the sauce we made. If there's no one around you, then imagine you are a pro chef on a TV show and show me your wok skills. Then that's gonna give you the smoky umami flavor to your ramen. Plus, it's a good chance to improve your wok skills. But your stuff might get messy, which means your mom will get mad at you. But don't worry about it. Once she tries your Tantanmen, she will forgive you, probably. Maybe. At this point, some of you might wanna ask, Aaron, how long should I keep doing this? Unfortunately, I can't tell you the exact time because it can be different depending on many factors. But when most of the liquid has evaporated and the pork absorbs this amazing sauce, you're done. Let's make the paste for the soup base. For this, you need this Japanese roasted white sesame paste. But to some of you, it's not easy to find this, right? Actually, it wasn't easy for me either. Then what should we do? We can use tahini as a substitute. But still, some of you might say, I can't get that either. I'm glad you brought that up. Then you can just use this peanut butter. You have one, right? For information, for the best result, I usually recommend creamy peanut butter, but it doesn't really matter. So if you have only chunky one, just go ahead and use it because we're gonna add some peanuts anyhow. So just use what you have in your kitchen. In a small mixing bowl, put 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 1 tablespoon of chili oil, 1 teaspoon of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of mirin, and give it a good mix. If you have this too, add 2 tablespoons instead of soy sauce and mirin. It will make your broth much deeper and more flavorful. And if you're a big fan of spicy food and wanna feel a little bit of Sichuan flavor, mala flavor, you can add some Sichuan peppercorns. But to do that, you need to toast them and grind them up with a mortar and pestle. That means it's impossible to make ramen within 15 minutes. So to make it simpler, let's add a quarter teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorn flavored oil. And this can reduce our cooking time. Now, let's make the broth. Traditionally, for Tantanmen, people use chicken or pork bone broth, but we can't make that, right? It's gonna take more than 10 hours. But as always, don't worry about it. With me, you're gonna be alright. Put 1 cup of water, 2 cups of unsweetened soy milk, 1 tablespoon of chicken powder in a pot, and give it a mix. Some of you might say, what? Soy milk? Trust me, this soy milk will make your broth nice and creamy. Let's place it over low heat and bring it to a simmer. In this step, there are 2 things you should be aware of. First, you should not put a lid on. Second, you should use low heat because soy milk tends to spill over so easily. So rather than boiling, just warm it up with gentle heat. Seriously, if you don't take my advice, you will see a volcanic eruption in your kitchen. You will. Meanwhile, let's pour some water for the other ingredients. Once it starts to boil, blanch the bok choy and mung bean sprouts briefly. Before you do that, if you add some salt and oil in the water, they will become more shiny and beautiful. But I'm gonna skip that because if I make more dishes to wash, Claire's gonna be mad at me. Lastly, let's cook the noodles in the same water for about 1 or 2 minutes. Depending on the noodles, the cooking time can be slightly different, so make sure to read the cooking instructions at the back. Also, if you can get fresh ramen noodles just like me, you can also use some frozen noodles, dried noodles, or even instant ramen noodles like this. No problem at all, just use what you have in your kitchen. Now, in a serving bowl, put half of the seasoning paste, half of the broth, and stir it all together. After that, add the drained noodles into the broth. Here, try to spread the noodles as wide as you can so you can place the toppings for later. Otherwise, you might have to see your toppings sink into the soup. Sadly, let's place the toppings we prepared earlier. Mung bean sprouts, bok choy, spicy pork, and green onions. And then put some sesame seeds and chopped peanuts on top. If you add some soft boiled egg, it will be more gorgeous. Lastly, if you want to make it extra spicy, please add a little bit of chili oil. This will make it more beautiful and add more flavor. Now it's done. Let's go to our taste tester.
Claire?
Oh my gosh. 위에 토핑 비주얼 뭐야? It looks heavenly, doesn't it? 각각의 재료들이 싱싱하게 다 살아있는 느낌이야. 너무 예뻐가지고 섞기가 미안할 정도인데? Oh no. It's insane. Ready? 오. 와, 대박인데? 진짜 맛있다. 되게 진하다. 너무 맛있는데? 거기다가 이 크리미한 거에 그 마라 향이 너무 잘 어울리네. 이거는 와 너무 맛있어. 듬뿍듬뿍 넣어줬네. 땅콩 냄새 장난 아니다. 와우. 오. 와 진짜 맛있다 저기야. 그냥 너무 맛있어서 어떻게 말로 설명할 수 없을 것 같아. 그냥 완벽해. And look at this boiled egg. It's insane, right? 이거 어떻게 삶는지 설명해줬어? 설명해야 돼. 나 원래 이렇게 맛있는 부분을 제일 마지막에 아껴놓는데 오늘은 먹겠다. 와 이거 진짜 맛있다. 진짜 이거 밖에서 사 먹을 필요가 없네. 아! 수저가 이 한국 수저라면 조금 아쉽긴 하다. 그 수저 있잖아 라면집에 있는 거. 그걸 준비했었어야지. That's the only complaint today. So good. Perfect.
Let me guess, you got some takeout and brought it home for your dinner. But when you open the box, unlike your expectation, there's cold, flavorless, and even overcooked chicken. However, what if I say you can make perfect Kung Pao chicken at home within 20 minutes from scratch? What do you say? Today, we are making Kung Pao Chicken, one of the most popular Chinese takeout dishes. The best thing about this is you can easily get the ingredients, and with a little bit of technique, you can make a restaurant quality Kung Pao Chicken at home. You will need chicken, green onion, garlic, ginger, peanuts, and dried chilies. That's it. Really simple, right? But for a bit of color, I'm gonna add some bell peppers here. You don't have these, but you have other vegetables, such as celery or zucchini. Don't worry about it. You can use them too. No problem problem at all. First, let's prep the vegetables. Normally, we use green onions to make our dish more fragrant, but in Kung Pao Chicken, they are mainly for the color and the texture. So instead of cutting it up too finely, let's chop them into nice little chunks. About a ½ inch would be perfect. Otherwise, they easily get mushy when you stir fry with other ingredients. Next, garlic. Smash 3 cloves of garlic and finely mince it with your knife. You can use a grater or just chop it into small pieces without smashing it, but I like this way better because this little action will make your dish more fragrant. So try this little technique, you will be surprised, and it makes you look super cool. This time, ginger. Finely mince 5 grams of ginger. If you have a tough critic and don't want to get harsh criticism because of this teeny tiny amount of ginger, then bring your grater and grate it as fine as you can. Or adding a little bit of ginger squeeze can be a good option too. For information, it's not my story. Guys, just listening. Next, dry chilies. Wipe the dust with paper towels and cut them into chunks. About the same length as green onion would be nice. Since mine is not too spicy, they're gonna just add a little bit of heat and make my chicken more fragrant. But if you put something like pepperoncino or Vietnamese chili pepper as much as I did, sorry about that. You will see yourself screaming in the bathroom the next day. So please add it after considering how spicy they are. Also, removing the seeds is a good way to reduce the spicy level. So if you don't want it to be too spicy, make sure to discard the seeds. As I said earlier, bell peppers are mainly for color, so I highly recommend using 2 colors, green and red. These guys will make your photos Instagram worthy. You're welcome. Now let's talk about the chicken. I'm using boneless chicken thighs, but if you prefer chicken breast because you need to get ready for summer, please go ahead and use that. But I'd rather go for this because it's more flavorful. Of course, I would hate myself in the past while doing heavy squats. I would. Cut 300 grams of chicken thighs into bite-sized cubes so they can be about the same size as the green onion. By the way, if you still worry about the summer, then please remove the skin and fat from the chicken. That's gonna help. Now for chicken, put some salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of mirin, half of an egg white, 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce, and give it a good massage. If you don't have dark soy sauce, you can just go for regular soy sauce. Also, instead of mirin, I was supposed to add Chinese Shaoxing wine, but I don't have it at the moment, so I replace it with mirin. So if you don't have mirin or Shaoxing wine, just use any kind of cooking wine or skip it. No problem at all. Once the chicken gets a little sticky, add 1½ tablespoons of cornstarch and mix everything together. And lastly, add a ½ tablespoon of cooking oil and give it a good mix. FYI, the reason why I added cooking oil here is it prevents your chicken from sticking together or sticking to the bottom of the pan while cooking. Pretty good tip, right? Alright, let's set it aside and move on to the sauce. In a small mixing bowl, put 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1½ tablespoons of vinegar. If you want it to be sour, you can add a little more vinegar. And if you prefer sweet chicken, you can add more sugar. Remember, there's a guideline in cooking, but that's not an absolute rule or something. So please taste it and add more or less to suit your taste. Keep adding 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of mirin. Again, any kind of cooking wine should be fine, so don't worry about it. And then a ½ tablespoon of oyster sauce, a ½ teaspoon of chicken stock, and a ½ tablespoon of cornstarch. Here, I need to add 3 tablespoons of water, but looks like the bowl is too small for that. So let me change it quickly and add 3 tablespoons of water. Lastly, a ½ tablespoon of Chinese chili bean paste. At this point, some of you might ask, Aaron, why do you add chili bean paste now? Aren't you supposed to stir fry it with the oil? Yes, you're right. They'll be more delicious. But if the cooking process gets much easier and simpler because of this, I dare say your cooking will become much more fun. Trust me, it will. Lastly, let's add a ½ teaspoon of dark soy sauce for some color and give it a good mix. It doesn't really affect the taste, so if you're okay with color, you can skip it. You'll be fine without it. Now let's get to cooking. Put a generous amount of oil into a wok and place it over medium heat. I'm using a little more than usual to show you how it works, but you can add a little less than this. Once it reaches 120 degrees Celsius or 250 degrees Fahrenheit, add in the chicken. As soon as you add in all the chicken, change the heat to high heat and please make sure to stir it occasionally so that they don't stick together. Some of you might wanna ask, Aaron, why do you deep fry? I thought we are gonna stir fry the chicken. I'm glad you asked. Actually, this is not ordinary deep frying. It's more like blanching the meat in the oil at low temperature. And this little technique will create an outer layer of the chicken, and that is gonna help keep the juice inside and make your chicken more tender. If you're using chicken breast, I highly recommend this technique. That will bring your chicken to the next level. But to be honest, this is not necessary, but to show you a restaurant quality Kung Pao chicken, I'm doing it. Here, we don't have to wait until it gets dark brown, so once it's cooked, take it out and drain the oil. This time, let's stir fry the peanuts. Heat up the pan over low heat. Add a little bit of cooking oil and some peanuts. As you toss it around, you will see they slowly turn nice and golden brown. If you cook this way, they will become more crunchy and fragrant. You wanna know one secret? Actually, I was supposed to deep fry these before the chicken, but I totally forgot. Sorry about that, it happens sometime. All the ingredients are ready now. Put some oil in a wok and place it over medium heat. Once the wok is nice and hot, add some dried chilies. And when it starts to turn light brown, add the chopped garlic, ginger, and stir fry them. Once they are fragrant, add the chicken into the wok and change the heat to high heat, and then stir everything together. Since we cooked the chicken already, we don't need to worry that the chicken might be undercooked. Just 30 seconds will be enough. Now let's add the sauce and stir fry for about 1 minute. Since we put the cornstarch in the sauce, it will slowly get thicker as it cooks. Add the bell peppers, green onions, peanuts, and mix all together. Here, the vegetables should be nice and crunchy, so make sure to toss it around over high heat as fast as you can. That's the key. If you overcook, they will become mushy. Lastly, let's drizzle a half teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorn flavored oil. With this, you can feel the authentic vibes without Sichuan peppercorn. But if you don't want it to be too spicy or numbing, you can skip it. No problem at all. Now let's transfer it to a serving plate. It's done. What do you think? It's way much simpler than you think, right? Wanna know what it tastes like? Let's call our taste tester.
Claire.
Ooh, isn't it so beautiful? I can't resist it. 땅콩도 있고 닭도 있고. 오, 이거 좀 많이 넣어줬네. Ready? 맛있다. 진짜 소스가 되게 맛있네. 소시한 게 이게 밥을 부르는 딱 그 느낌이고, 이건 닭만 먹었을 때 약간 심심할 수 있는데 확실히 야채랑 땅콩이 닭만 먹었을 때 그 심심함을 확실하게 채워주네. 땅콩이랑 야채의 역할이 크다 보니까 절대 생략하면 안 되는 것 같아. If you are allergic to peanuts, you should definitely replace it with other things like cashew nuts. Yeah, I think cashew nuts will definitely work. You should really try it. Don't skip it. 어김없이 오늘도 밥 좀 줘봐. I got my rice. 소스가 잔뜩 많아서 밥이랑 너무 잘 어울려. 밥을 부르는 맛이야 진짜. More bites. 맛있어. 엄청 화려한 맛은 아닌데 매일 먹어도 안 질릴 수 있는 그런 맛인 것 같아. 매운 걸 잘 못 먹어도 요 정도는 다 가능할 것 같아. You gotta try this. So good. 나 원래 닭가슴살을 좋아해가지고 자기가 닭가슴살을 안 쓰고 허벅지살을 쓴다고 했었을 때 조금 그게 마음에 안 들긴 했는데 이게 소스랑 진짜 잘 어울리네. 허벅지살이랑 맛있다. 굳이 내가 딱 한 가지 아쉬운 걸 뽑자면 미드에서 내가 많이 봤는데 말이야. 이게 테이크아웃으로 유명한 음식인데 그 상자에 이렇게 넣어가지고 이렇게 줬었으면 느낌 제대로 살지 않았을까? 아쉽다.
Let me guess, on a lazy weekend, you're home alone. And of course, hungry. And you just remember there was $3 on the table, which is not yours. What can you have with that $3? Don't you ever think of instant ramen? I'm not talking about that kind of thing today. For less than $3, if you can have a nice meal which has meat, rice, and even various vegetables, what do you say? Today, I brought an eggplant rice bowl. You don't like eggplants? Really? If you don't, I think that's because you have only tried eggplant that is cooked wrong. If you try this, I'm pretty sure you'll become the biggest fan of eggplant. You will. You will need ground beef, green onion, bell pepper, garlic, egg, and eggplant. You don't have one or two? Don't worry about it. As long as you have ground beef and eggplant, you're totally fine. First, let's prep some eggplants. When cutting eggplants, you don't have to cut off the entire stem. You can simply cut it here and take these off with your hands. This way, you can use all of it and even reduce your food waste. Did I sound like a penny pincher? That is save your money. Now cut them into bite-sized pieces. You can cut these any way you like, but if they're too thin, you might end up with some purple alien or something. I mean, they easily get mushy when cooking, and that is the reason why you didn't like eggplant. So I want you to cut them into nice and thick chunks. Next, garlic. Smash 2 cloves of garlic and finely mince it with your knife. Actually, you don't have to smash the garlic before you mince it, but this little action will make your dish more fragrant. So try this little technique. This time, green onion. Chop it into small pieces, but not this much. I think I really have an addiction problem with it, but still, more green onion, more delicious is the absolute truth. You know what I'm talking about, right? No? Really? Lastly, bell pepper. To make it prettier, I'm gonna use 2 colors, red and green. But it's not necessary, so just use what you have in your fridge. No worries. Now let's make the sauce. Put 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, a half tablespoon of Chinese chili bean paste, 1 tablespoon of mirin, a half teaspoon of sugar, a few shakes of black pepper, and give it a good mix. That's it. So simple, right? But the taste is not gonna be simple. This time, let's prepare some starch water to thicken up the sauce when you stir fry. Put half tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of water, and give it a quick stir. That's it. Let's move on to the rice. Actually, I was gonna pour some eggplants over the usual plain rice, but that is not enough for our taste testers, so let's make it more beautiful and fancier. As you guys say, Claire is so lucky. Crack 2 eggs into a bowl and give it a stir. And add a bowl of cooked rice, which is about 200 grams, and mix it well with your spoon. Normally, I put some chicken stock or oyster sauce to season, but since we're gonna eat this with stir-fried eggplants, I'm just gonna add a pinch of salt and 1 tablespoon of cooking oil. That should be alright. Some of you might ask, Aaron, can I use any kind of oil here? I'm glad you asked. This golden fried rice is not the main feature. It's more like a supporter, so it shouldn't have a strong flavor. So if you use extra virgin olive oil, sesame oil, engine oil, gasoline or something, not responsible. Alright, let's get to cooking. Put some oil in a wok and make green onion oil. Once you can smell the amazing aroma, change the heat to high heat and add the rice. At this point, you might wanna ask, Aaron, it looks too watery. Is it okay? Yes, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Just make sure to keep stirring it. Then it will come out nice and fluffy fried rice. Once most of the liquid has evaporated and it turns beautiful golden fried rice, add some green onions and give it a good mix. How does it look? It looks quite similar to the one from restaurants, right? Alright, let's transfer it to a serving plate and set it aside. This time, eggplant. When your pan is warm enough, put a little bit of oil and coat it with paper towels. Otherwise, 1 or 2 pieces of eggplants will absorb all the oil, like greedy Claire. If it absorbs too much oil, it's not that appetizing. So to prevent that situation, do not skip this step. Put all the eggplants and let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. FYI, if you deep fry eggplants with starch batter, it will be more delicious and fancier. You know, everything tastes better when it's deep fried. And obviously, this eggplants is definitely one of them. But I want this recipe to be easy and simple. That's why I pan fry this. Anyway, once you've got good color, please remove it from the pan. Alright, it's time to assemble. Put 1 tablespoon of chili oil, add a half cup of ground beef, and stir fry for about 2 minutes. When it's cooked on the outside, add the green onions, garlic, bell peppers, and stir fry them for about 2 more minutes. Since your house smells amazing because of beef and aromatics, you might feel like you're a master chef or something. And I know you just want to feel this moment as much as you can. But we don't have much time for that. Sorry about that. Please come back and focus. Now pour the sauce we made and stir fry for about 1 minute. And lastly, add the starch water and give it a good mix. Here, the most important thing is you need to stir fry the eggplant as quickly as you can. If you cook it too long, trust me, they're gonna be mushy and not pretty. So please coat them with the sauce within 30 seconds. Devote all of your energy here. Then you will get the perfect stir-fried eggplant. Of course, if you're home alone, it doesn't really matter. But if your boyfriend or girlfriend is waiting for your dish like a baby bird, you have to make it perfect and pretty, right? And that was my move. Alright, it looks done. All you need to do is place it over the rice. It looks so yummy, right? Wanna know the taste? Let's go to our taste tester.
Claire?
Very impressive. You know what? I really love your presentation. One of the reasons why I didn't like eating eggplants is because when it's alone, it didn't look appetizing. But check out this one. It looks beautiful with the golden fried rice, right? 이거 그냥 혼자만 있으면 그냥 보라색깔 괴물같이 별로 맛있어 보이지 않거든. 냄새 미쳤네 미쳤어. 향기로워. 좋아. 쟤도 많이 써서 알록달록 너무 예쁘네. Let me try it. 이것만 먼저 먹어볼게. 오, 맛있네. More bites. 왜 이 소스에다 가지를 이렇게 볶는지 알겠다. 그리고 약간 고추가 딱 그 뭔가 그 벨페퍼만 썼는데 이렇게 맵다고? 약간 이렇게 탁 쏴주는 그런 매력이 있는데? 고추기름만 매콤하면서 세이버리하고 짭조름하고 맛있네. 밥이랑 먹으면 진짜 맛있을 것 같아. 딱 봐도 이거는. Egg fried rice. Look at how fluffy it is. And this time with eggplant. 일단 볶음밥 잘했네. 맛있다. 맛있고 간이 너무 세지 않아서 이 가지랑 그냥 왜 이렇게 하나로 잘 해놨는지 알 것 같아. 충분히 이해가 돼. 서로가 서로를 보완해주는 그런 맛이라고 할까? 내가 가지를 좀 싫어하는 이유 중에 하나가 또 이 가지의 식감 때문이거든. 약간 이게 너무 과하게 조리가 되면은 질척해서 별로거든. 근데 전혀 무시하지 않고 딱 맛있다. 살아있어. 식감 살아있어. 잘했네. 내가 생각했을 땐 말이야. 여기서 더 맛있게 보이려면은 가지에다 그릴 마크를 딱 새기면 그냥 끝날 것 같아. 그렇게 했어야지. 양이 상당히 많네. 이게 1인분인지 2인분인지는 정확하지 않아. 이건 나같이 많이 먹는 사람한테는 1인분이 되겠지만 생각보다 가지 양이 많아서 아마 조금 먹는 사람들한테 2인분이 될 수도 있을 것 같아. So I would say 1 or 2 servings.